Hey guys, I'm Mono and this is Isonzo, a new World War I multiplayer shooter from M2H and Blackmill Games, the creators of Verdun and Tannenberg. These are all fairly similar World War I games, with the main difference between them being the particular war scenarios they focus on and the game modes. So Verdun featured the trench warfare from the Western Front, while Tannenberg has more dynamic engagements that take place on the Eastern Front, and Isonzo, on the other hand, is based around the fighting in northern Italy, so there's a lot of verticality to most maps, as most of them are set around the steep mountains of the Alps. I got invited to play this game at a preview event held last week, together with other streamers and content creators, so I'm here to give you guys my first impression of how Isonzo plays and whether it's worth your money or not. So first of all, let's set expectations here. This is a $30 title which features authentic World War I weapons, so if you're like me and you didn't really enjoy Battlefield 1 touting itself as a World War I game, and then featuring a bunch of fully automatic weapons with optical sights, then rest assured this is trying to be the real thing. Most soldiers on the battlefield are equipped with bolt-action rifles, which restrict your ability to go in guns blazing against multiple enemies. So if you're used to slower paced games, this shouldn't be much of an issue, and as someone who primarily plays Hell Let Loose, where you can have a Kar 98 while facing multiple semi-auto and full-auto weapons, I was having a blast on more equal footing for once. There are a few fully automatic weapons, but access to those is pretty limited by class limitations, so most of the fighting does revolve around the bolt-action rifles and pistols. There's also a stamina system which will affect weapon sway, so the more you run, the more this bar gets depleted and the more weapon sway you have once you stop and try and aim. The game features an offensive style mode similar to Battlefield's Breakthrough, where one team defends and the other one pushes onto two objectives, which can be areas that you need to hold for a certain amount of time, or places where you need to plant a bomb and prevent the other team from defusing it. There will be 6 maps at launch, and I gotta say, some of these maps are really stunning. There are spectacular urban areas with a ton of details, as well as mountain ranges filled with trench lines, and as you push the enemy back into other areas of the maps, you are often faced with a dramatically changing landscape that also greatly affects how you need to play the game. Some weapons might be more effective than others. For example, pistols provide a higher fire rate than the bolt-action rifles, but their lethal range is extremely short, making them excel in tight, winding trenches, while the rifles are better suited to more open areas. Tying this all together is a class system where each player type gets access to different weapons, perks, and abilities. The Mountaineer can zoom in more when you hold your breath, while regular riflemen can have a bonus to their cap weight. Engineers can build a variety of defensive structures like barbed wire, sandbags, machine guns, and so on. The most distinct class is that of the officer, which works as a sort of team commander, though there can be 2 of them per side. The officer can access a variety of different support abilities from a desk, like bombing runs and artillery or smoke barrages. Some of these abilities can be extremely powerful when used correctly, so having a decent officer in your team seems like a must. So with that all said, there is a significant amount of depth to the game that I wasn't really expecting. I think as a player, learning to use the different classes effectively on each map and figure out which one yields the most impact at any given moment will be tons of fun. However, this would all fall flat if the gunplay and general gameplay wasn't up to par. Well, there is definitely a jankiness to the game. It actually reminds me a lot of Day of Defeat, an old source mod game, in the way that some of the animations sometimes don't really particularly flow well together. For example, when you ADS, your character's movement slows down considerably, but it feels like it's binary. Like you can move a certain amount, and then when the ADS animation reaches a certain point, you suddenly move at half the rate. It takes a while to get used to and might be a bit jarring for new players. However, I don't think it detracted from my enjoyment of the game in any meaningful capacity. I still found movement to be quite good, and the hit registration seemed on point. Speaking of hit registration, there are bots in the game that can be turned on or off, and they can be quite brutal with their aim on medium settings. They are still bots, so they tend to bunch up and provide you some easy kill streaks, but every now and then there's like the rogue perfect aim bot that can get on your nerves. However, I think this is a fantastic feature to have in a game, especially as someone that lives in a region where these smaller indie titles sometimes struggle to find an audience. Given the current FPS market out there, where you have your hardcore tactical or milsim shooters like Hell Let Loose, Postscriptum, Squad, and so on, or the more arcadey games like Battlefield and Call of Duty, I think Isonzo strikes a cool balance between committing to a fairly realistic experience without requiring this absolute commitment from the player in terms of communication or busy work, or just general tryhardiness. So my initial impressions are pretty positive. For a $30 game releasing on all platforms at once, this seems like a neat, fun shooter in a world where there's not really too many of those around, especially not ones that have a clear focus on what they want to achieve, and this one certainly does. Focus Interactive actually acquired Black Mill Games yesterday, so that seems to be like a serious vote of confidence behind Isonzo if you want to factor that in. And yeah, I will leave you guys with some gameplay to further showcase how the game plays, and I will be streaming this on Twitch, so give me a follow there. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.
I was about to go inside A and just, it was about 7 of them just came out.
Nice, I got him in the hand.
Yo, I'm about to run out of tickets.
Yeah.
Is that you dismantling the thing?
No. Ah, I say bayoneted someone. Bayoneted. I'm gonna gas them.
Artiglieria in arrivo! Preparatevi, ragazzi!
Gas them!
Stiamo perdendo questa battaglia!
Well, I got in a good position. Got one kill.
L'artiglieria, ricarico! Lo avete! Dovete bombardare quella posizione! Posso! Ora!
No, it's your fault. Oh shit, I'm already hurt.
Strafing run seems to be very effective.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sospendete, ragazzi! Carica!
Nice. That killed people.